Hello. I have something that's becoming abundantly clear to me in my life that I thought I would share just in case it's helpful to anyone else. And this is around the nature of abuse. I think we can all agree that at a basic level, abuse is basically imposing your wants, needs, beliefs, agenda on someone else, regardless of what they need. And physical abuse is very clearly that. Emotional abuse is sometimes not so clearly that, but is that. It doesn't always look that way from the outside. But I think something that we often miss, I know I have missed in a huge way, is when we do it to ourselves. So anytime we are wanting to be different than we are in this moment, or trying to impose how we think we should be, how we want to be different than we are in this moment, an agenda on ourselves, that is actually abusive, like just downright abuse to ourselves. And I think that in our culture, we're actually kind of applauded for doing this to some degree. Like it's seen as maybe humility, or like trying to better oneself if we kind of chastise ourselves about things or call ourselves out about things, and not that there's not a loving, healthy way to do that, but I think the way that that's done a lot of times is perpetrating abuse on ourselves, and it's violence. It's actual violence against ourselves. And I think it'd be great if we recognize that, and just everyone would be so much more at peace. I think just as an example, say I'm feeling nervous about, I don't know, an interview I'm going to do. But I tell myself, under the guise of a pep talk or maybe positive thinking, or what's the word? I'm losing the word. Anyway, I think it happens a lot under the guise of positive thinking and basically pep talking ourselves up, right? So I'm nervous for this interview, but instead of just acknowledging that and giving myself what I need in that moment to feel safe, I maybe could say to myself, you shouldn't feel this way. There's no reason for you to feel this way. You've got this. You're just being wimpy. Like, you're going to be fine. And there's definitely a loving, healthy way to do these things, but I think it's very sneaky the way that sometimes we do them abusively and we're not aware of doing that. So I know in my life, it's definitely time for me to really acknowledge and just be okay with how I am. It doesn't mean that I don't lean into doing the work, that I'm not doing inquiry and really like digging under the triggers and the patterns that don't necessarily serve or support me in my freedom in my life. Absolutely. But in the moment when we're feeling those things and telling ourselves we should feel or do things differently, instead of just hearing what is going on in us and basically like talking to a child going, what do I need right now to feel safe and secure and to provide that for us, and then later do the work on that. Or if we're aware enough in that moment to do that and say, maybe I want to make a different choice than I would usually make here. Some kind of healthy version of that. Instead of this perpetration of violence on ourselves, perpetrating our agenda on the truth of who we are and how we are showing up in that moment, or how we're experiencing in that moment. So I think great ways to kind of get in connection with that and to really nurture ourselves rather than be violent against ourselves are just acknowledging what we're feeling when we're aware to do that, and then taking a little bit of time, maybe if we're with someone else when that's happening and we're kind of seeing ourselves go toward this pattern of like writing off our feelings or telling ourselves, we're being ridiculous or something like that, to maybe just say, you know what, I just need a couple minutes. Let me just take a couple and recalibrate here or something. It's always great to go into nature and just really sit there with what's coming up and just the environment around us and being really observant and kind just about what's going on rather than trying to make it different. I think this is where we've gotten into massive trouble. One area anyway with the environment in general is not really being with it and really asking, what is our Mother Earth? What is our home that supports us? We literally would not have air to breathe without trees. We would not have, anything we need without the ecological systems that are in place that were here way before we were ever here. So forgetting to sit with that and instead perpetrating our own agendas onto nature without regard for what those natural areas and natural systems need to survive is the same kind of violence. So I think often it's nice to get into nature and get into that space of acknowledging and just being and just interfacing in the now with nature is a great it's just a great way to connect with ourselves and with another entity that has been violently perpetrated against. So just some thoughts today that came to me, and I hope you're having a wonderful, peaceful day.